How do we stop? Shade. Shade. Hello? We want to pause, Shade. I can see the pause button there, but I can't click it. I have an idea. He looks sad. But he's still happy. Another beautiful day in my underground kingdom. I like his idea of building a bed. Just build a box and then fill it with moss. Let's consult our book of thoughts. Hello, thoughts. How are you today? I dreamed of a strange place beyond the kingdom with green grass and trees. An old blind man was operating a well that reached down into the cave. A spider emerged from the depths and scared a young troll sitting nearby. I wonder if this place is real or just a product of my imagination. I wonder if we had to wait until the bucket came down the well. But that should be one that we can clear up. I'm surprised that it hasn't cleared. Oh, and the king warned me that I should never leave these caves. Wonder what exactly he meant by that. That's another where I'm pretty sure we know now what he meant by that. Will I ever overcome the darkness? Yes, we have. But when it comes to seeing all the areas, we have not. I have seen nearly every area of the cave, but not yet everything. So I think we've done well, and we've left little bits to continue to explore. Our home is indeed comfortable enough now. And the bed. We're now building the bed. Crystals. That's something, I think we'll go and do that tomorrow. We'll go hunt for that last piece of crystal. Our book of thoughts is, if we were to recondense it, it's turning into just a couple pages of thoughts. Zarathustra, chapter 28, The Rabble. Life is a well of delight, but where the rabble also drink, there all fountains are poisoned. To everything cleanly am I well disposed, but I hate to see the grinning mouths and the thirst of the unclean. They cast their eye down onto the fountain, and now glanceth up to me their odious smile out of the fountain. The holy water have they poisoned with their lustfulness, and when they called their filthy dreams last night, then poisoned they also the words. Indignant becometh the flame when they put their damp hearts to the fire. The spirit itself bubbleth and smoketh when the rabble approach the fire. Mawkish and overmellow becometh the fruit in their hands, unsteady and withered at the top. Doth their look make the fruit tree, and many a one who hath turned away from life hath only turned away from the rabble. he hated to share with them fountain, flame, and fruit. And many a one who hath gone into the wilderness and suffered thirst with beasts of prey disliked only to sit at the cistern with filthy camel drivers. And many a one who hath come along as a destroyer and as a hailstorm to all cornfields wanted merely to put his foot into the jaws of the rabble and thus stop their throat. And it is not the mouthful which hath most choked me, to know that life itself requireth enmity and death and torture crosses. But I asked once, and suffocated almost with my question, what? Is the rabble also necessary for life? Necessary, yeah, it's a new word. Are poisoned fountains necessary, and stinking fires and filthy dreams and maggots in the bread of life? Not my hatred, but my loathing gnawed hungrily at my life. Ofttimes became I weary of spirit when I found even the rabble spiritual. And on the rulers turned I my back when I saw what they now call ruling, to traffic and bargain for power with the rabble. Amongst people of a strange language did I dwell, with stopped ears, so that the language of their trafficking might remain strange unto me, and their bargaining for power. And, holding my nose, I went morosely through all yesterday's and today's, verily, bad smell, all yesterday's and today's, of the scribbling rabble. Like a cripple, become deaf and blind and dumb. Thus have I lived long, that I might not live with the power rabble, and scribe rabble, and the pleasure rabble. Toilsomely did my spirit mount stairs, and cautiously alms of delight were its refreshment, and on the staff did life creep along with the blind one. What hath happened unto me? How have I freed myself from loathing? Who hath rejuvenated mine eye? And have I flown to the height where no rabble any longer sit at the wells? Did my loathing itself create for me wings and fountain divining powers? Verily, to the loftiest height had I to fly, to find again the well of delight. Oh, I have found it, my brethren. Here on the loftiest height bubbleth up for me the well of delight. And there is a life at whose waters none of the rabble drink with me. Almost too violently dost thou flow for me, thou fountain of delight, and often emptiest thou the goblet again, in wanting to fill it. Yet must I learn to approach thee more modestly. Far too violently doth my heart still flow towards thee, my heart on which my summer burneth, my short, hot, melancholy, over-happy summer. How my summer heart longeth for thy coolness. Past the lingering distress of my spring, past the wickedness of my snowflakes in June, summer have I become entirely, and summer noontide, summer of the loftiest height, with cold fountains and blissful stillness. Oh, come, my friends, that the stillness may become more blissful. For this is our height and our home. Too high and steep do we here dwell, for all uncleanly ones and their thirst. Cast but your pure eyes unto the well of my delight, my friends. How could it become turbid thereby? It shall laugh back to you with its purity. On the tree of the future build we our nest. Eagles shall bring us lone ones food in their beaks. Eagles shall bring us lone ones food in their beaks. Punctuation. Verily, no food of which the impure could be fellow partakers. Fire would they think they devoured, and burned their mouths. Verily, no abodes do we keep ready for the impure. An ice cave to their bodies would our happiness be, and to their spirits. And as strong winds will we live above them, neighbors to the eagles, neighbors to the snow, neighbors to the sun. Thus live the strong winds. And like a wind will I one day blow amongst them, and with my spirit take the breath from their spirit. Thus willeth my future. Verily, a strong wind is Zarathustra to all low places. And this counsel counseleth he to his enemies, and to whatever spitteth and speweth, take care not to spit against the wind. Thus spake the Zarathustra. So it's like he's building his own society with people who, I guess, are like himself. And he likes to point this out, that he feels above others, which is an odd thing for somebody who's enlightened. But what is he separating himself from? Not just people who haven't reached those heights, but he's saying specifically these wicked ones, those who, I guess, destroy things, make things bad, turn water into mud. I wish he would just say who the heck he means, other than just speak of them in this way. We can assume, sure, but sometimes the clarity is important. Perhaps it could have been just something lost in translation. But he mentioned those people who want to gain power in, like, I want to become the ruler. Okay, who are you going to rule? I'm going to rule the rabble. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Why can't we just drive out the rabble? What are they doing? What are they here for? Perhaps are they just a line of votes to give you this position of leadership? Whatever. It's a curious question. Chapter 19. The Tarantulas. Lo, this is the tarantula's den. Wouldst thou see the tarantula itself? Here hangeth its web. Touch this, so that it may tremble. There cometh a tarantula willingly. Welcome, tarantula. Black on thy back is thy triangle and symbol. And I know also what is in thy soul. Revenge is in thy soul. Wherever thou bitest, there ariseth black scab. With revenge thy poison maketh the soul giddy. Thus do I speak unto you in parable, ye who make the soul giddy, ye preachers of equality. Tarantulas are ye unto me, and secretly revengeful ones. But I will soon bring your hiding places to the light. Therefore do I laugh in your face, my laughter of the height. Therefore do I tear at your web, that your rage may lure you out of your den of lies, and that your revenge may leap forth from behind your word, justice. Because for man to be redeemed from revenge, that is, for me, the bridge to the highest hope, and a rainbow after long storms. Otherwise, however, would the tarantulas have it, let it be very justice for the world to become full of the storms of our vengeance. Thus do they talk to one another. Vengeance will we use, and insult against all who are not like us. Thus do the tarantula hearts pledge themselves. And will to equality, that itself shall henceforth be the name of virtue. And against all that hath power will we raise an outcry. Ye preachers of equality, the tyrant frenzy of impotence crieth thus in you for equality. Your most secret tyrant longings disguise themselves thus in virtue words. Fretted conceit and suppressed envy, perhaps your father's conceit and envy, in you break they forth as flame and frenzy of vengeance. What the Father hath hid cometh out in the Son, and oft have I found in the Son the Father's revealed secret. Inspired ones they resemble, but it is not the heart that inspireth them, but vengeance. And when they become subtle and cold, it is not spirit, but envy that maketh them so. Their jealousy leadeth them also unto thinkers' path, and this is the sign of their jealousy. They always go too far, so that their fatigue hath at last to go to sleep on the snow. In all their lamentations soundeth vengeance. In all their eulogies is maleficence, and being judge seemeth to them bliss. But thus do I counsel you, my friends, distrust all in whom the impulse to punish is powerful. They are people of bad race and lineage. Out of their countenances peer the hangman and the sleuth hound. Distrust all those who talk much of their justice. Verily, in their souls not only honey is lacking, and when they call themselves the good and just, forget not that for them to be Pharisees nothing is lacking but power. My friends, I will not be mixed up and confounded with others. There are those who preach my doctrine of life, and are at the same time preachers of equality and tarantulas, that they speak in favor of life, that they sit in their den, these poison spiders, and withdrawn from life, is because they would thereby do injury. To those would they thereby do injury who have power at present. For with those the preaching of death is still most at home. Were it otherwise, then would the tarantulas teach otherwise, and they themselves were formerly the best world maligners and heretic burners. With these preachers of equality will I not be mixed up and confounded, for thus speaketh justice unto me. Men are not equal, and neither shall they become so. What would my love to the Superman if I spake otherwise? On 1,000 bridges and piers shall they throng to the future, and always shall there be more war and inequality among them. Thus doth my great love make me speak. Inventors and figures and phantoms shall be in their hostilities, and with those figures and phantoms shall they yet fight each other, the supreme fight, good and evil, and rich and poor, and high and low, and all names of values. Weapons shall they be, and sounding signs that life must again and again surpass itself. The loft will it build itself with columns and stairs, life itself. Unto remote distances would it gaze, and out towards blissful beauties. Therefore doth it require elevation. And because it requireth elevation, therefore doth it require steps, and variance of steps, and climbers. To rise striveth life, and in rising to surpass itself. And just behold, my friends, here where the tarantula den is, riseth aloft an ancient temple's ruins. Just behold it with enlightened eyes. Verily, he who here towered aloft his thoughts in stone knew as well as the wisest ones about the secret of life, that there is struggle and inequality, even in beauty, and war for power and supremacy, that doth he here teach us in the plainliest parable. How divinely do vault and arch here contrast in the struggle, how with light and shade they strive against each other, the divinely striving ones. Thus steadfast and beautiful, let us also be enemies, my friends. Divinely we will strive against one another. Alas, there hath the tarantula bit me myself, mine own enemy. Divinely steadfast and beautiful, it hath bit me on the finger. Punishment must there be, and justice, so thinketh it, not gratuitously shall he here sing songs in honor of enmity. Yet it hath revenged itself, and alas, now will it make my soul also dizzy with revenge. That I may not turn dizzy, however, bind me fast, my friends, to this pillar. Rather will I be a pillar saint than a whirl of vengeance. Verily, no cyclone or whirlwind is Zarathustra, and if he be a dancer, he is not at all a tarantula dancer. Thus spake Zarathustra. Break. So he believes in inequality, and not just like that everyone has an equal beginnings and such like that, because he's striving for a Superman to exist, and if that bridge begins, naturally the Superman is going to be an evolution of everyone else. So that evolution, should it succeed, would they not be ahead of and further than others? Obviously, they're not going to be in balance. Makes sense. But then he's saying with this tarantula, I've heard tarantulas are venomous, but their fangs are so small that it's difficult for them to bite a person to do much harm. No, that's not right. I'm thinking of a different spider. I'm thinking of the daddy long legs. They're called the daddy long legs. They also have other names where they're a spider with incredibly long legs that eat other spiders. I've heard those were extremely venomous, but because they're so small, they couldn't hurt a person. But the tarantula, and he mentioned a black triangle on their back. Maybe they do. I don't know. Hmm. But when it comes to the lethality of their bite, it's not that bad compared to like the black widow or the brown recluse or there was a third one that I've heard of that are pretty bad. It's fine. But he's using like this metaphor that these people who are like tarantulas, it's kind of like in a video game, you have these bosses and you have to go through the whole stage beating up all the lackeys before you can get to the boss, because they're just hiding out in their dens. And even though he doesn't believe in this equality, he's not making himself to be another tarantula. He's not just creating another den with this thing that he's creating. I do believe that's what he's trying to say. But he's mentioning what tarantulas are and what they do and how they exist in the world. Chapter 30. The famous wise ones. The people have ye served, and the people's superstition, not the truth. All ye famous wise ones, and just on that account did they pay you reverence. And on that account also did they tolerate your unbelief, because it was a pleasantry and a bypath for the people. Thus doth the master give free scope to his slaves, and even enjoyeth their presumptuousness. But he who is hated by the people, as the wolf by the dogs, is the free spirit, the enemy of fetters, the non-odorer, the dweller in the woods. To hunt him out of his lair, that was always called sense of right by the people. On him do they still hound their sharpest toothed dogs. But for there the truth is, where the people are, woe, woe to the seeking ones. Thus hath it echoed through all time. Your people would ye justify in their reverence. What called ye will to truth, ye famous wise ones? And your heart hath always said to itself, from the people have I come. From thence came to me also the voice of God. Stiff-necked and artful, like the ass, have ye always been, as the advocates of the people, and many a powerful one, who wanted to run well with the people, hath harnessed in front of his horses a donkey, a famous wise man. And now, ye famous wise ones, I would have you finally throw off entirely the skin of the lion, the skin of the beast of prey, the speckled skin and the disheveled locks of the investigator, the searcher, and the conqueror. For me to believe in your conscientious, oh, I can hear the word in my head. This is a difficult one. Conscientiousness. You would first have to break your venerating will. Conscientious. So call I him who goeth into God-forsaken wildernesses, and hath broken his venerating heart. In the yellow sands, and burnt by the sun, he doubtless peereth thirstily at the isles rich in fountains, where life repurposeth under shady trees. But his thirst doth not persuade him to become like those comfortable ones. For where there are oases, there are also idols, hungry, fierce, lonesome, God-forsaken. So doth the lion will wish itself. Flee from the happiness of slaves, redeemed from deities and adorations, fearless and fear-inspiring, grand and loathsome, and lonesome. So is the will of the conscientious. In the wilderness have ever dwelt the conscientious, the free spirits and lords of the wilderness, but in the cities dwell the well-foddered, famous wise ones, the draught beasts. For always do they draw, as asses, the people's carts. Not that I on that account upbraid them, but serving ones do they remain, and harnessed ones, even though they glitter in golden harness. And often have they been good servants, and worthy of the hire. For thus saith virtue, if thou must be a servant, seek him unto whom thy service is most useful. The spirit and virtue of thy master shall advance by thou being his servant. Thus wilt thou thyself advance with his spirit and virtue. And verily, ye famous wise ones, ye servants of the people, ye yourselves have advanced with the people's spirit and virtue, and the people by you. To your honor do I say it. But the people ye remain for me, even with your virtues. The people with purblind eyes. The people who know not what spirit is. Spirit is life, which itself cutteth into life. By its own torture doth it increase its own knowledge. Did ye know that before? And the Spirit's happiness is this, to be anointed and consecrated with tears as a sacrificial victim. Did ye know that before? And the blindness of the blind one, and his seeking and groping, shall yet testify to the power of the sun, that which he hath gazed. Did ye not know that before? And with mountains shall the discerning one learn to build. It is a small thing for the Spirit to remove mountains. Did ye know that before? Ye know only the sparks of the Spirit, but ye do not see the anvil, which it is, and the cruelty of its hammer. And verily, ye know not the Spirit's pride, but still less could ye endure the Spirit's humility, for it ever wont to speak. And yet, could ye cast your spirit into a pit of snow? Ye are not hot enough for that. Thus are ye unaware also of the delight of its coldness. In all respects, however, ye make too familiar with the Spirit, and out of wisdom have ye often made an almshouse and a hospital for bad poets. Ye are not eagles, thus have ye never experienced the happiness of the alarm of the Spirit, and he who is not a bird should not camp above abysses. Ye seem to me lukewarm ones, but coldly floweth all deep knowledge. Ice cold are the innermost wells of the spirit, and refreshment to hot hands and handlers. Respectable do ye there stand, and stiff, with straight backs, ye famous wise ones. No strong wind or will impelleth you. Have ye never seen a sail crossing the sea, rounded and inflated and trembling with the violence of the wind? Like the sail, trembling with the violence of the spirit, doth my wisdom cross the sea, my wild wisdom. But ye servants of the people, ye famous wise ones, how could ye go with me? Thus spake Zarathustra. This one sounded like he's acting like a preacher. He was saying before, he despises those who preach to, because they wish to chastise those beneath them. Is he not just doing that as well right now, where he's like preaching down to these others who call themselves the wise ones and basically throwing them down, saying like you try to act like you're wearing the lion skin, that you're like the predator? Ha! Let me reveal you for what you are, and then just constantly bash them. Didn't you know that nature itself is violent? Okay, great. And like, what is he saying? That to be a wise one, you need to be willing to like be violent in the way you meet and greet people and how you go about your affairs? I guess he's just calling out the ones who are fake about it. But to what point, really, other than to preach? 31. The Night Song. 'Tis night. Now do all gushing fountains speak louder, and my soul also is a gushing fountain. 'Tis night. Now only do all songs of the loving ones awake, and my soul also is the song of the loving one. Something unappeased, unappeasable is within me. It longeth to find expression. A craving for love is within me, which speaketh itself the language of love. Light am I? Ah, that I were night, but it is my lonesomeness to be begirt with light. That I were dark and nightly, how would I suck at the breasts of light? And you yourselves would I bless, ye twinkling starlets and glowworms aloft, and would rejoice in the gifts of your light. But I live in mine own light. I drink again into myself the flames that break forth from me. I know not the happiness of the receiver, and oft have I dreamt that stealing must be more blessed than receiving. It is my poverty that my hand never ceases bestowing. It is mine envy that I see waiting eyes and the brightened nights of longing. The misery of all bestowers, oh, the darkening of my sun, oh, the craving to crave, oh, the violent hunger, insatiety. They take from me, but do I yet touch their soul? There is a gap twixt giving and receiving, and the smallest gap hath finally to be bridged over. A hunger ariseth out of my beauty. I should like to injure those I illumine. I should like to rob those I have gifted. Thus do I hunger for wickedness. Withdrawing my hand with another hand, already stretcheth out to it, hesitating like the cascade, which hesitateth even in its leap. Thus do I hunger for wickedness. Such revenge doth mine abundance think of, such mischief welleth out of my lonesomeness. My happiness in bestowing died in bestowing. My virtue became weary of itself by its abundance. He who ever bestoweth is in danger of losing his shame. To him who ever dispenseth, the hand and heart become callous by very dispensing. Mine eye no longer overfloweth, For the shame of suppliants, my hand hath become too hard for the trembling of filled hands. Whence have gone the tears of mine eye, and the down of mine heart? O the lonesomeness of all bestowers! O the silence of all shining ones! Many suns circle in desert space. To all that is dark do they speak with their light, but to me they are silent. Oh, this is the hostility of light to the Shining One. Unpityingly doth it pursue its course. Unfair to the Shining One in its innermost heart, cold to the suns. Thus travelleth every sun. Like a storm, do the suns pursue their courses. That is their travelling, their inexorable will to do they follow. That is their coldness. Oh, ye only is it, ye dark nightly ones, that extract warmth from the shining ones. Oh, ye only drink milk and refreshment from the light's udders. There is ice around me, my hand burneth with the iciness. There is thirst in me, it panteth after your thirst. 'Tis night, alas, and I have to be light, and thirst for the nightly, and lonesomeness. 'Tis night, now doth my longing break forth in me as a fountain. For speech do I long. 'Tis night, now do all gushing fountains speak louder, and my soul is a gushing fountain. 'Tis night, now do all songs of loving ones awake, and my soul also is the song of a loving one. Thus sang Zarathustra. A dance song. One evening went Zarathustra and his disciples through the forest, and when he sought for a well, lo, he lighted upon a green meadow peacefully surrounded with trees and bushes, where maidens were dancing together. As soon as the maidens recognized Zarathustra, they ceased dancing. Zarathustra, however, approached them with friendly mien and spake these words: Cease not your dancing, ye lovely maidens. No game spoiler hath come to you with evil eye, no enemy of maidens. God's advocate am I with the devil. He, however, is the spirit of gravity. How could I, ye light-footed ones, be hostile to divine dances, or to maidens with fine ankles? To be sure, I am a forest and a night of dark trees, but he who is not afraid of my darkness will find banks full of roses under my cypresses. And even the little god may he find, who is dearest to maidens. Beside the well lieth he quietly with closed eyes. Verily, in broad daylight did he fall asleep, the sluggard. Had he perhaps chased butterflies too much? Upbraid me not, ye beautiful dancers, when I chasten the little god somewhat. He will cry, certainly, and weep, but he is laughable even when weeping. And with tears in his eyes shall he ask you for a dance, and I myself will sing a song to his dance, a dance song and satire on the spirit of gravity, my supremest, powerfulest devil, who is said to be Lord of the world. And this is the song that Zarathustra sang when Cupid and the maidens danced together. Of late did I gaze into thine eye, O life, and unto the fathomable did I there seem to sink. But thou pullest me out with a golden angle. Derisively did thou laugh when I called thee unfathomable. Such is the language of all fish, saidst thou. What they do not fathom is unfathomable. But changeable am I only, and wild, and altogether a woman, and no virtuous one. Okay. Though I be called by you men the profound one, or the faithful one, the eternal one, the mysterious one, but ye men endow us always with your own virtues. Alas, ye virtuous ones! Thus did she laugh, the unbelievable one. But never do I believe her, and her laughter, when she speaketh evil of herself. And when I talked face to face with my wild wisdom, she said to me angrily, "Thou willest, thou cravest, thou lovest, and on that account alone dost thou praise life." There was no and in there. Then had I almost answered indignantly and told the truth to the angry one, and one cannot answer more indignantly than when one telleth the truth to one's wisdom. For thus do things stand with us three. In my heart do I love only life, and verily most when I hate her. But that I am fond of wisdom, and often too fond, is because she remindeth me very strongly of life. She hath her eye, her laugh, and even her golden angle rod. Am I responsible for it that both are so alike? And when once life asked me, "Who is she, then, this wisdom?" Then said I eagerly, "Ah, yes, wisdom. One thirsteth for her, and is not satisfied. One looketh through veils, one graspeth through nets. Is she beautiful? What do I know? But the oldest carps are still lured by her. Changeable is she, and wayward. Often have I seen her bite her lip, and pass the comb against the grain of her hair. Perhaps she is wicked and false, and altogether a woman, but when she speaketh ill of herself, just then doth she seduce most." When I had said this unto life, then laughed she maliciously, and shut her eyes. "Of whom dost thou speak?" said she. "Perhaps of me. And if thou wert right, is it proper to say that in such wise to my face? But now, pray speak also of thy wisdom. And now hast thou again opened thine eyes, O beloved life, and unto the unfathomable have I again seemed to sink." Thus sang Zarathustra, but when the dance was over and the maidens had departed, he became sad. "The sun hath long set," said he at last. "The meadow is damp, and from the forest cometh coolness. An unknown presence is about me, and gazeth thoughtfully. What, thou livest still, Zarathustra? Why, wherefore, whereby, whither, where, how? Is it not folly still to live? Ah, my friends, the evening is it which thus interrogateth in me. Forgive me my sadness. Evening hath come on. Forgive me, that evening hath come on." Thus sang Zarathustra. I think I'm going to have to read that one again to piece together what it is he's referencing. He saw the maidens, he tried to sing to them, to like hang around. Was he speaking of wisdom, or was he speaking plainly of maidens and then was talking about wisdom afterwards? Because he was calling wisdom like a maiden, but sometimes like a woman, sometimes not. But he was comparing wisdom. I guess his lust after wisdom is the same as his lust after life. And that in some way they resemble each other. But then darkness came upon him and things were cold. And he was questioned. I think I would have to go back and read again to like piece together some of the bits there. Because it feels like some metaphor was just lost to me. Oh well, I'll keep going on. The Grave Song. Yonder is the grave island, the silent isle. Yonder also are the graves of my youth. Thither will I carry an evergreen wreath of life. Resolving thus in my heart, did I sail o'er the sea. O ye sights and scenes of my youth! O all ye gleams of love, ye divine fleeting gleams! How could ye perish so soon for me? I think of you today as my dead ones. From you, my dearest dead ones, cometh unto me a sweet Saviour, heart-opening and melting. Verily, it convulseth and openeth the heart of the lone seafarer. Still, I am the richest and most to be envied, I, the lonesomest one, for I have possessed you, and ye possess me still. Tell me, to whom hath there ever fallen such rosy apples from the tree as have fallen unto me? Still I am your love's heir and heritage, blooming to your memory with many-hued, wild-growing virtues, O ye dearest ones. Ah, were we made to remain nigh unto each other, ye kindly strange marvels, and not like timid birds, did ye come to me and my longing? Nay, but as trusting ones to a trusting one. Yea, made for faithfulness, like me, and for fond eternities. But I now name you by your faithfulness, ye divine glances and fleeting gleams. No other name hath I yet learnt. Verily, too early did ye die for me, ye fugitives, yet did ye not flee from me, nor did I flee from you. Innocent are we to each other in our faithlessness. To kill me, did they strangle ye, ye singing birds of my hopes? Yea, at you, ye dearest ones, did malice ever shoot its arrows, to hit my heart. And they hit it, because ye were always my dearest, my possession, and my possessiveness. On that account had ye to die young, and far too early. At my most vulnerable point did they shoot the arrow, namely at you, whose skin is like down, or more like the smile that dieth at a glance. For this word will I say unto mine enemies, what is all manslaughter in comparison with what ye have done unto me? Worse evil did ye do unto me than all manslaughter. The irretrievable did ye take from me. Thus do I speak unto you, mine enemies. Slew ye not my youth's visions and dearest marvels? My playmates took ye from me. The blessed spirits, to their memory do I deposit this wreath and this curse. This curse upon you, mine enemies, have ye not made my eternal short? As a tone dieth away in a cold night, scarcely as the twinkle of divine eyes did it come to me, as a fleeting gleam. Thus spake once in a happy hour my purity, divine shall everything be unto me. Then did ye hunt me with foul phantoms. Ah, whither hath that happy hour now fled? All days shall be holy unto me. So spake the wisdom of my youth, verily, the language of a joyous wisdom. But then did ye enemies steal my nights, and sold them to sleepless torture. Whither hath that joyous wisdom now fled? Once did I long for happy auspices, then did ye lead an owl monster across my path, an adverse sign. Whither did my tender longing then flee? All loathing did I once vow to renounce. Then did ye change my nigh ones and nearest ones into ulcerations. Whither did my noblest vow then flee? As a blind one did I once walk in blessed ways. Then did ye cast filth on the blind one's course. And now is he disgusted with the old footpath. And when I performed my hardest task and celebrated the triumph of my victories, then did ye make those who loved me call out that I then grieved them most. Verily, it was always your doing. Ye embittered to me my best honey, and the diligence of my best bees. To my charity hath ye ever sent the most impudent beggars. Around my sympathy have ye ever crowded the incurably shameless. Thus have ye wounded the faith of my virtue. And when I offered my holiest as a sacrifice, immediately did your piety put its fatter gifts beside it, so that my holiest suffocated in the fumes of your fat. And once did I want to dance, as I had never danced. Beyond all heavens did I want to dance. Then did ye seduce my favorite minstrel. And now hath he struck up an awful melancholy air. Alas, he tooted as a mournful horn to mine ear. Murderous minstrel, instrument of evil, most innocent instrument, Ready did I stand prepared for the best dance. Then didst thou slay my rapture with thy tones. Only in the dance do I know how to speak the parable of the highest things. And now hath my grandest parable remained unspoken in my limbs. Unspoken and unreleased hath my highest hope remained, and there hath perished for me all the visions and consolations of my youth. How did I ever bear it? How did I survive and surmount such wounds? How did my soul rise again out of those sepulchres? It's a weird word. I know what it means, but it's hard for me to pronounce it. Yea, something invulnerable, invariable is with me, something that would rend rocks asunder. It is called my will. Silently doth it proceed and unchanged through the years. This course will it go upon my feet, mine old willed. Heart of heart is its nature, and invulnerable. Invulnerable am I only in my heel. Ever livest thou there, and art like thyself, thou most patient one. Ever hast thou burst all shackles of the tomb. In thee still liveth also the unrealizedness of my youth. And as life and youth sittest thou here hopeful on the yellow ruins of graves. Yea, thou art still for me the demolisher of all graves. Hail to thee, my will, and only where there are graves are there resurrections. Thus sang Zarathustra. I was confused at the beginning, saying his enemies beset upon him the things he dreamed of in his youth. But I think this is kind of a reflection back to the first book, when there was this younger person and they were all gathered around this wise man. And he spoke of climbing mountains and those who fail along the way sometimes become bitter. They become toxic to their communities, to those who are also trying to climb. And he's kind of sharing that same story, but from a different perspective, where perhaps the previous chapters where he was talking about the evening has come upon him, maybe he's calling that as time, that like he's reached this age of he's beyond his youth now, and he's seeing that the evening is setting upon him, and that the maidens that used to flock around him and stuff don't flock around him anymore, kind of thing. And he's saying, well, he's not defeated, and he was, how do you say, reflecting on the good old days, as that phrase goes, right? But he wasn't reflecting on it. Well, he did reflect on it and say, like, his enemies defeated him. He was charitable, but then his hands felt calloused in some ways, and that he was kind of blaming his enemies for sending those people to him who just absorbed all of the abundance that he wanted to give to people, to the point that like his abundance ran out, became calloused, was no longer willing to like offer help because those people were, I guess, beyond that help. But then at the end of it, he was saying, I like that part at the end. Hail to the grave, because of my will, there are resurrections, to because of his will, to remember what it is that he desires most, and he's inspired and still continuing to drive after. That even if it is evening for him, he's not going to stop. And even if there were failures behind him, so what? There's still time to continue forward in the future, to resurrect, to revive, and go again. Try again. Aspire again. Well, that's what I'm gaining from it. Let's see. Is there a big book We can leave our shade to read. Well, he's going to read Monte Cristo. I knew a guy who, oddly enough, when he went to prison, this was the book he read. And when he got out of prison, it completely changed him. If you're familiar with the book, The Count of Monte Cristo, that's kind of the story that happens where this person ends up in jail. And what he wants most is revenge. And when he gets out of jail, guess what happens? It's a fun story. There's a movie on it as well. A fun movie. Worth a watch. But yeah, I found it ironic that that was the book. This person that I knew who went to jail, that was the thing that they read and the thing they remember most. Well, our shade's not in jail. I don't think our shade has feelings of revenge for anyone, for anything. He hasn't felt that. But he has felt, nature is scary, like with the stalactite, just doing what stalactites do, grow and then fall. What else did we really experience? Not too much. Even though we're underground, we've seen the waterfall. In some ways, we've been very safe. But at the same time, filled with our longing and loneliness, the shade does seem happy at home. He seems okay. He seems to not worry so much anymore, that things are great. And they are for now. He still has books to read. He still has paper to draw some art with. He still has crafts to build. For now, I think everything is great. But I think when the shade begins to reach his own evening, where all those things that interested him and helped him bide his time, once those things are gone, what does he do then? He'll probably sleep and hang out with his mushrooms. But it'll change. It has to change at some point. We'll enjoy your book, Shade.